Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to the show. We got the Council Feature Conflict today, episode 484. We got Zelensky's fatal flaw, and it's Europe's war now. So clearly, we're going to be talking a lot about this freaking nuclear bomb that went off inside Zelensky's head, and then he vomited his word salad all over the Oval Office, and then got smacked down. Joe, I don't think I would ever try to, do like a heel turn on somebody who's actually been, in a WWE match, I mean, because he literally just played right into Trump's fucking hands.
And you know what? I'm going to be honest. This was not my choice of a title. Everyone, my choice of a title was the Pimp Slap Heard Round the World. Because that's literally what happened.
Joe, it was too long. It was just too long.
It just wouldn't fit. And I'm going to tell you what, this is a guy who overcalculated, overplayed his hand, and he got exactly what he deserves. So it's going to be a fun chat.
Well, I just hope, to stick with the wrestling. I just hope it's not all kayfabe, I want this to be a shoot, not a work. So I'm hoping that, yeah, it's very funny.
The best part in this is the image of Vance there with the knife hand out. And I said, when a Marine NCO is talking to you in the knife hand, things have gone terribly wrong.
All right. Yes. Anyway, so this definitely blew up everything. We were just talking about Zelensky stuff, the Epstein files beforehand. And, I think it's true, Joe, that once this happened, hardly anybody was thinking about the Epstein stuff. I mean, guys like us are, but regular people in the media, doesn't seem to be, not even like the kind of the non-traditional new media. They didn't really kind of talk rate Pam Bondi over the coals or anything like that on Sunday or Monday. Well, I guess it's Monday for you guys, Monday morning. But so I thought that was kind of interesting. And it's the weekend. The media cycle's a little slow on the weekend. So this pimp slap heard around the world is definitely the thing that pulled all the oxygen out of the room for the rest of the.
Well, it's done that. And it's also led to some more potential for violence. There were a lot of protesters who showed up on JD Vance's trip. There were some unusual aircraft intransigence outside of Mar-a-Lago. A couple of civilian aircraft.
I don't know how much this is, but it
looks like
a lot. Cerebus, is that Australian dollars? 100 Australian dollars? I don't know how the leftists can't unsee the current world order with all the shitty. I totally agree with you.
I agree entirely, and now I have to go figure out how many dollary dues equals a real dollar.
But
we have to convert that to freedom units for us.
Here's my thing, right? When you accept certain things that you have to accept in order to be a leftist, there's two parts to that. A, you have to have the kind of person who can accept that. So these are people with a personality that will just allow them to just, allow the kind of stuff into their head. And then on the other side of it is you have to literally suspend disbelief. And you have to drink the Kool-Aid and swallow the propaganda so hard that it's just, it's amazing. $62.27. Probably be less by the end.
Yeah, I should know this because I have this $62.32. I get this conversion every month from Amazon. So.
Anyway, Service, thank you so much. That is a very generous supporting of the channel. For me, this
where we were popular down in Australia. So I appreciate all of our Australian fans. Are there any other Australian fans who should?
Well, you got to remember, for Australia, this is nighttime. So this is so you can be chilling back with a whiskey, or something like that, just kind of, relaxing, unwinding from the day, listening to a little council on future conflict. See, for us people here on the the far, we're on the far right side of the world here. It's like full on nighttime now. So
Actually,
I think
we're on the far left side of the world. It all depends on your perspective.
That's right. Yeah, I'm talking like if you lay it out on a map, and the international date line is where you cut it.
This might come as a surprise to everyone, but the Earth is round.
Indeed.
That's right.
You should hear NC Scout tell a story about that. He once taught a class, and he was trying to explain radio wave propagation with the curvature of the Earth, and they told him they were flat earthers, and they legit got mad. It's a great.
He's like, listen, if it's flat Earth, the radio would go a lot further.
Right, exactly. He was trying to explain how to bounce it off the ionosphere. So he's like, well, there goes a whole half day of instruction I can't teach now.
Right.
Holy cow.
Somebody's got their mom's credit card. I've been talking to one of the last hour, and I just can't know how I explain it to him. So, okay, but
they intentionally don't want to. They don't want to know the truth.
Right. So you have to understand, when you're dealing with somebody who has bought into not just like a single issue, like for instance, like if you got the cute girl who's pretty normal, but she's a big animal rights activist, or she's a big pro-abortion activist, like she may have like one problem, but everything else is fine. Maybe you can pull that person back, right? But these people, that the problem is they absolutely buy into, oh, I'm a vegan. Oh yeah, I'm also pro-choice. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm all this other stuff, right?
And then before you know it, they're a Zizian.
And here's the thing: they use shame to kind of like, oh, well, you can't, if you say something that's judgmental in any way, you are absolutely taking somebody else's agency away from them. And we all know that you have to basically slap people upside the head from time to time.
I don't know.
It would not stop Scott from trying, though.
Hey, ask me how I know you can.
I'll just say that I personally have witnessed more than one vegan woman get a taste of really good meat and then switch to a carnivore diet within like 3 to 4 months of no longer being a vegan.
You got to understand, back in the 90s, being a hippie was like still a thing. Like people, like there were hippies out there, and all hippie girls that were cute were just like, were pretty easy to sway over once they realized that,
Well, a lot of them thought they hated meat because their shitty hippie parents were the only people who'd ever cooked it for them.
Wait, this means Scott doesn't have to do shots. You know what? I guess I could break out guys, I haven't drank, and I have not drank since the last time I was in Montana.
When was that? Hold on. There is now a bar.
Hey,
look at you! Look at you,
bar
Joe.
in the library. Look at
Joe,
that.
when was I in Montana? That was
August, first week of August.
Yeah, it was first week of August. So that's the last time I have.
We'll have to help you with that.
Yeah. Well, I am not opposed to doing a drunk stream again. I mean, here's the thing.
It's gotta be well timed, right?
That's right. It has to be for the right reason. But here's the thing. Let me get
Daisy Girl Williams, you're not the first person to say that.
If I remember correctly, she was part of the last drunk stream, feeding me liquor. If I can just say, since my wife,
if y'all weren't there for it,
I'm trying to give you guys, since my wife has stopped drinking, it makes it hard for me to drink. Whoa, Cerebus has decided that he hasn't spent enough on his mom's credit card. It's to the point where we agree on the small hat war, but can accept that Ukraine can't win. I think it was hot war, but yeah, small hot war.
No. I think I know exactly what he means. I think he means the current conflict happening in the, shall we say, upper Middle East. with people with small hats.
So,
Did you?
yeah. Hold on. We're gonna get to that, Joe. Hold on a second. Cerebus, real quick, if you would, you've been so generous. You don't have to donate it. Just kind of explain what you mean by that, so we know that we're interpreting it the same way.
Tracking.
Yeah.
The small.
And for those who weren't there for it, the stream we did live from Montana was a drunk stream, including Brandon from Shield Arms.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that was good.
I tell you what, there is allegedly video out there of me doing a cartwheel after that stream.
Scott did do a cartwheel after that.
Yeah, it exists.
That's right.
I think it's been shown on the show before.
No, not on this show.
No.
We did show it on the show because your dad sent it to me. So
yeah, no, we showed it. Here's the deal, Scott. You'll have to figure out what episode it's in because I don't remember now. But Joe challenged me to slip it in while you were talking, and I did. I plopped it up on screen while you were reading another article.
Well, that makes this decision easy. All right, Joe. All right. Yeah, 3 a.m. I think it's in Sydney. I think it's like midnight 30 in Sydney. All right. Yeah, but no. Maybe he's talking to Tim Pool.
Well, yeah.
So yeah, I think everybody realizes that Ukraine can't win. It's just a matter of they're trying to freeze everything in place. I don't know.
Well, he has confirmed that small hats was intentional. It was not a typo, and
yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know that Putin was a Jew, so sorry, my bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just it, right? I mean, I think that the war in the Middle East is actually pretty justified as well. If I'm honest, I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I can't believe this didn't happen in the mid 2000s when it all kind of, Joe. I mean, I was really surprised that they didn't completely, throw down in 2006, but they didn't.
Yeah. Well, they once again let the international community convince them not to, right? Convince them to hold back, and they paid for it. So,
Hunch Dirty Rover over on Rumble says, "Guys, is anyone really a vegan? Whether it be a tube steak or a fish taco, everyone gets a little meat in the mouth. Look at you! I swear."
Oh, we do have a
Hunch. We can't. I can't take you anywhere.
Phil Coggins.
Phil Coggins, member for 30 months, says, "Thank you." By the way, being a member for 30 months, that's a lot. We appreciate you. Judging by the conversations I saw in X this weekend, plenty of NAFO bros. Thank you. Yeah, of course they've thought that they could win the whole time.
They're never ever going to restore the 2014 borders ever.
Never.
Because,
even if Russia,
by the way, let's talk about what the 2014 borders really were. Prior to the Maidan Revolution, Crimea was already gone. It had already seceded from Ukraine, had been accepted by the Ukrainian parliament, and had already invited the Russians in. All that the Euromaidan civil war thing did was escalate Russia's timeline of moving troops in. So if you say pre-2014 borders, that does not include Crimea.
Yeah, what was it? I'm trying to remember when they when they actually started occupying. Because remember there were the standoff, the Mexican standoff,
25th, right after the fighting in Kiev. And yes, I said Kiev because that's the name of the town.
You're talking about the rioting in
yes,
the Maidan rioting, yeah, because that was the first place the Russians actually showed up, and you actually started having like
the little green men.
Yeah. All right. once again, Service, thank you for the donations there. Appreciate you. Completely threw us off track, but that's fine. It's worth it. Hey, Joe, how was your weekend?
It was pretty darn good. There was actually a pretty good video out there that somebody shared of a tank officer explaining why he's not afraid of drones. It's actually really good. Y'all should watch it, and you'll stop thinking that drones are some panacea. Drones are something that's going to change warfare forever. It has changed warfare, but they are not the invincible machine that you think they are. But anyway, we got a lot of warm weather this weekend, so a lot of the snow is gone. My roof is now not snow free, and we're headed on the right track. So,
Heck yeah.
That's good. That's good. Watcher?
Doing good. Had a busy weekend. Chicken updates abound. You guys will get a video here of the chicken's new digs. Not too long. What else? Oh yeah, somebody brought up amaranth. That's pretty interesting. Apparently, amaranth puts more rounds downrange than some people I could mention.
That's what they're saying. Is that oh, here we go. No, I will explain this in such words. Hold on a second, let me get it on the screen. Service again for Australian $50. No, I will explain this in such words. Russia will get back all its territory that they used to have pre-World War II, and the tiny hat war will end up in more money expended. I agree with that. More money expended. I think that the Jews in Israel have a way more valid argument to continue their war than either Russia or Ukraine has. That being said, I think I don't know that Russia will get back its pre-World War II borders. Joe, I'll be honest with you. My 1915 geography or 1914 geography of the Russian frontier is sketchy. Ukraine, if I remember correctly, was part of Russia prior to the creation of the Soviet Union.
The Ukrainian SSR always was.
No, before the Soviet Union. Yeah.
Kiev and Rus. It's all part of it.
I don't know that they're going to get back all of Ukraine. I'll be honest with you. I don't know that they want back all of the rest of Ukraine. They
just want everything east of the river and maybe Odessa.
Yeah, it kind of goes back to the old Odessa still on the menu idea.
And Rick, I don't know what link it is you want me to post, but if you tell me what link it is, I will see what I can do.
All right. Let's jump into our first odds and ends, shall we, gentlemen? Speaking of small hat war. I found this to be a really interesting. This is very much a realpolitik kind of a move here, and I don't know for sure that it's actually happening, but I think it makes a lot of sense. Why Israel is reportedly lobbying the U.S. to keep Russian bases in Syria. So this kind of makes sense, Joe. The idea here is that if Russia is in Syria, then Russia becomes a stabilizing influence that would, how should we say, tamp down the rise of anti-Israeli activists within Syria. Because Russia, if they make a deal with Russia to stay in the ports and maybe have Latakia back, if they've got that, then Russia becomes a stakeholder in Syria, essentially. And the Syrian government will go to Russia for help, assistance, that type of thing. Probably China as well, to a lesser extent. Because Syria needs a lot of rebuilding. And guess who likes to help people rebuild places as long as they can get a cut of whatever it is that you can suck out of the ground? And that would be China. Yeah, I agree with this, Cerebus.
Yeah.
For Australia, I think this. I think you're right on the money with what we were just saying. They want essentially everything Dnieper River and to the east, and then they would also like Odessa.
Yeah.
So all of Donetsk, all of Luhansk, I think they definitely want Kharkiv, but I don't know if Kharkiv's worth it. They want Zaporizhia, all of it, because they have most of it already. They also want. They would probably want to have all of. Oh shit! What's the other one down there by the, connected to Crimea? Same name as the city, right there on the river. What's the name of the city on the river?
Are you talking about Zaporizhia?
Zaporizhia is further up the river. I'm talking about the one right there by the coast.
You're talking about the one that my brain's malfunctioning.
That's what I'm saying.
You're talking about the city that the Ukrainian Marines are based out of.
Yeah.
No, because that's called Martina or something like that. It's the one south of that. Like I don't know. Hold on, let me look.
I know. I'm looking right now.
It's the city that they took half of.
Yeah. Basically, they took all of it on one side of the river, but not the other side of the river.
Yeah.
Mykolaiv, Kherson. That's what. Kherson Oblast.
I don't know why I was drawing a blank on that.
I know I was basically I was on a roll going all the way down until I got there. I agree. I think that they want
Marines are based out of.
And yeah, Mykolaiv. I think that they want all of that, and including Odessa. Now,
yeah,
and they would probably like to have it all the way over to they want because what they want is access to Transnistria, which would then basically they would have that entire section of Ukraine surrounded.
Yeah.
So it's all right. Sorry, just kind of looking at anyway. So I thought this was a pretty interesting idea. Let me kind of go through what the article says here. Reuters cited unnamed sources to report that Israel is lobbying the U.S. to keep Russia's bases in Syria as part of the plan to counterbalance Turkish influence there. I agree with that. According to them, Israel fears that Hamas might relocate to Syria and then operate from there under Turkish protection. Well, I tell you what, Joe, those Al-Qaeda leaders under Turkish protection haven't been doing too well. Do you see the video of the flying Ginsu knife that took out another Al-Qaeda leader over the weekend?
I did not.
Evidently, this is the first video that they've shown of one of those flying Ginsu knives popping a bad guy. So
I don't know. I thought we showed some of that before.
Well, I'm saying coalition provided video, versus like a local video or something like that. Because I think we've seen a local video hit it down the street and then all of a sudden comes into the screen or whatever. Anyway, they didn't explain how Russia continued military presence in Syria could avert that scenario. However, nor how the U.S. could convince Syria not to kick them out either. Nevertheless, the little that was revealed sheds light on what Israel might have in mind, namely an informal trilateral arrangement centered around their sharing interest in preventing Turkey from dominating the post-Assad Syria. Joe, I'll be honest with you. I think the post-Assad Syria, if they didn't create a military for the next 20 years, they would still probably have bills to pay. These countries, Syria has absolutely been gutted. Whoa, Hunch, you guys have been so generous today. Hunch is gifting 10 future conflict memberships. I hope you had it turned on. Since I haven't really said this in a while, but if you want to support the channel like these gentlemen have done today, a couple of different ways to do it. Of course, there's the super chats like Cerebus was doing. Then you can become a member, and that's $5 a month, and it gives you one of those free member chats, like like this one here, Phil Coggins. Or you can do gifted memberships, which is what Hunch just did, where you're basically giving memberships to other people. So, and if you get a membership, so you'll know it because you've got the little, like a little symbol next to your name, and your name is green now. You now can send, these member chats once a month. So don't forget to do that. All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Oh, Service, you utter beast. For Australian $10. When can we get back to great person politics? The great man of the world are working at the moment, and we, yeah, I agree. I mean, the great man theory is one of those interesting things. The problem is that we live in a world where, it's hard to, all these, great men get drowned out, I think. Especially in the age of the internet. And, but that being said, you've got a Donald Trump, you've got an Elon Musk, right? You've got some big personalities that are looming pretty large on the world stage. Now, I'll be honest with you, Joe, can you name a big man in Europe right now? Because I can't.
Oh, come on, Keir Starmer.
I think he is the definition of a small man.
The biggest man in Europe right now is Giorgia Meloni.
Oh yeah, 100%. And maybe Orban.
And you know what's crazy is Duda's been making the right noises over the last couple of days, which is shocking because I really thought he'd have went the other way.
Well, I hate to say it, Joe, as much as I don't like it, but you've got Putin and you've got Erdogan as well that fall into those categories.
When somebody looks back at the grand history books for Russia, Putin is a great man, and he has done everything that he can for Russia. Now, I'm not saying he's perfect or that he's a good man. I'm saying he's a great man in the terms of international politics. Another one is Sergei Lavrov, the consummate professional foreign minister.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And all the other ones that could be great, they're trying to throw in prison, like Bolsonaro, several of the others in Romania.
Well, I want to turn us back to Syria and why, and how this kind of balance of power might work. I mean, what's your take? Do you think that Russia is a natural foil against Turkey in Syria?
It is a good it's a good buffer zone if I'm Israeli, right? Having the Russians, a regiment of Russian Marines and a Russian naval base squarely between Turkey and me is something I want to maintain. Turkey and Russia have this love-hate relationship. They go back and forth. It's a good piece of uncertainty to place as a tripwire. So, yeah, I think it is a good foil to them.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I think this is absolute realpolitik in the in the kind of most simplest sense of the term. All right. Watch your thoughts before we move on.
Israel is lobbying to keep Russian bases. Syria is going to turn into a nightmare. That's my take on this. I think everybody's scrambling to get a hold of it. I don't think anybody seems to have a very good hold on it, including the people who Golani or whatever the hell he's decided his name is now. I think Syria is liable to implode into factional kind of area of violence within the next 3 to 4 months.
Yeah, I mean it's. I think there's a couple developments happening here that make me feel like that may be the case. And our next story actually is a well, okay. Let's do story number 3 first, and then we'll do story number 2 because this links directly in with what we're just talking about. PK. So we talked about this the other day, Joe. The leader of the PKK in prison was Öcalan. He basically said, "Hey, listen, you guys need to knock it off and disband the PKK." So, in response, today we've got PKK declare ceasefire in 40-year conflict with Turkey. The Kurdish Workers' Party, or PKK, notice all the red stars on all these.
Weird.
Yeah, just so you know, all of our allies, they may not be commies, but they're waving commie banners. Oh, Cerebus is fucking absolute mensch here. Putin and Trump understand what great man politics are at the moment. Why can't we get back to this? And I don't care. Is it about Ukraine wins? It's going to have to lose territory. Yep, 100%. I totally agree. I think in order for, I think the best bet is if they freeze the borders right now. That's the best bet Ukraine is ever going to get.
Best outcome we can get, yes. And we've been saying that from day one, right?
I mean, shit, I said, Joe, we had this problem solved before the war even started. I mean, right here on the Council on Future Conflicts. Unfortunately,
you said cede those territories and it's over.
Well, we didn't have a big enough audience back then, so nobody was listening to us back then. But now, I mean, it's funny how people have how many times we've heard our words show up in other people's lips. Now, I know they're not watching our show, but still, they do not. They are not free, and they are not a democratic. They are puppet. Yeah, no, absolutely. This is 100% true. That it is not a free country. Not the way it was. Let's be honest. I mean, ever since Maidan, there's been a kind of a militant streak, but you could argue that it was trying to lean towards the whole liberal European democracy route. It was still the most corrupt country in all of Europe. So the corruption alone probably made it, almost unlivable. But that said, ever since the war started, it has literally turned into a fascist country. Living under martial law, and I hate to say it, Joe. I agree with Lindsey Graham. Putin needs to go. I mean, Zelenskyy needs to go. All right, back to this story here with the PKK. The statement. Let's see. The Kurdish Workers has declared it will implement a ceasefire with Turkey, heeding the call from its jail leader. The statement by the outlawed group, published by the pro-PKK Ferhat news agency on Saturday, is seen as a major step towards ending the 40-year conflict with the Turkish state. In order to pave the way for implementation of leader Apo's Öcalan's call for peace and democratic society, we are declaring a ceasefire effective from today. The PKK Executive Committee said in a statement quoted by ANF, which is that fear news agency. We agree with the content of the call as it is. We say that we will follow and implement it, the committee says. So, Joe, this is kind of a big deal, that the fact that they're, it's one thing from him to call, with a gun to his head, essentially in a Turkish prison, calling for them to disband. It's another thing for them to say, okay, let's do a ceasefire, and maybe we'll get a little further on that later.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is still coming out of left field for me. I don't know what concessions he's gotten from whoever the middleman is on this, but he has to have gotten something.
I get the feeling that the PKK is probably getting behind the, probably back channel communications through probably SDF or something like that. And Turkey's basically saying that, it's time for us to end the conflict, the Cold War on our southern border. I think that makes a lot of sense for Turkey, if I'm honest. I think, they could probably do a bit of live and let live. Especially if Turkey says, listen, if you guys want to do your thing in Syria, that's fine, but you just gotta, basically, can it in, in Syria and Iraq, but just, can it in Turkey. That might be the way to go.
I think another small piece of Kurdistan lies within Iran as well.
That's true. It's actually in four countries. So Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Turkey. Hey, in fairness here, Tuggin Mitubin, he says Bongino seems to be in no help to get in and help. He's doing his daily shows. We do not have time for this shit. Yeah, the problem is he can't do. He literally can't do anything until he gets confirmed, with the exception of engaging directly with Congress and things like that. And he probably has a schedule for that. And he's not working for himself at that point. He's working for the administration. So he'll pull back when he needs to. All right. Anyway, I just thought this was when I saw this, Joe, I'll be honest with you. I thought that PKK, the call for PKK to disband and ceasefire last week, I thought that would be like a one-shot thing and we wouldn't hear about it again. So when I saw this, that's what makes me think that there's really some kind of some action behind the scenes to make this happen.
Stop that.
I know. Sorry. But it's nighttime here at least. Let's see. He said Turkey would keep a close watch to make sure the talks to end the conflict were brought to a successful conclusion. When the pressure of terrorism and arms is eliminated, the space for politics and democracy will naturally expand, Erdogan promised. The PKK, designated terrorist group by Turkey, the United States, and the European Union, has waged a war since '84. Just kind of Turkey's neighbor Iraq has welcomed Öcalan's call, saying it will be a positive and important step to achieving stability in the region. Yeah, so interesting new development. We'll definitely be monitoring that. I'll be honest with you, Joe. I would be happy if peace were to just break out all over the place. I don't know if that helps with the whole future conflict part of our show, but I think it would be good. Can you get Don the Pleb back on, please?
He was literally on our last show.
Yeah, he was on Friday, Sarah, but she missed him. I'll send him a note right now.
And by the way, it's not entirely up to us when Don comes on. He gets the link every single time.
I was going to say.
Yeah. Don is his own man.
He's invited every day.
So, Joe, India and China, right? I mean, that's one of those kind of things. It seems to always be something's happening all the time there. But it seems like China is always, I don't know. It seems like China's been distracted recently, but India is not distracted. They're focused pretty heavily on China. I mean, you could say that they're looking at Pakistan quite a bit, but not the way they look at China, because China's the only competitor.
I think China's not distracted from India because there's sort of a war of words going on between the two of them over Bangladesh. Because China wants to put a naval base in Bangladesh and shore up a Bangladeshi dictator. India wants to support the other side and thereby prevent China from isolating India with another naval base right next door. So I think that China pays a lot more attention to stuff than we give them credit for. They are where strategy comes from. I mean, they know these things.
Yeah,
and they're building rail lines that go around there to kind of negate India's influence on the Indian Ocean and the Straits of Malacca. I think China's paying plenty of attention to India. They continue to militarize the border in the mountains too. So.
Yeah, and the salami slicing is definitely,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you told us you want to see more Don on there. That way we can, hump his leg and get him back on the show more often. And and just to let you guys know, maybe we can work something out. Maybe Don can help out next week because I will be missing at least on Monday and Wednesday of next week.
Well,
So
you
we
won't be
will
missing.
either.
We'll know exactly where you are.
That's true. That's true. I will not be on the show. I have work stuff both days, and so I will try to be here on Friday, but no promises. But I should be fine the week after that. So Joe and Watcher will have to hold down the fort without me. But the Joe, shockingly, I don't know if it's my mug that that some of the guys don't like, but whenever you and Watcher do the show, you got some unique folks that generally pop up. So it's good to. You guys got a little fire team that'll help you out.
I'll see if I can convince Stan on Fire to wander in.
We need to get Angry American back on. It's been too long since that.
Actually, that's probably pretty doable. Angry American just announced and confirmed that he will be at Shield Field Days, July 25th through the 27th. Right here in Montana, drinking from that bar right over there, along with his wife, Angry Mel, and we will have a good time. So,
speaking of things that haven't happened in a really long time, I haven't been inspired to make a meme live on the show for a really long time, but well, here.
Very good.
And remember, Watcher and Scott, next Monday, Spring Forward will have kicked in. So interestingly enough, my time stays the same, but you guys spring forward, right? Is that how that works?
Are we still doing this?
Didn't he say get up even earlier?
I don't know. I thought it's
no, it's gonna get
no, I can stay in bed for another hour.
Yeah, that's right. But didn't he say he was gonna get rid of this? Didn't he campaign on this?
Actually, he did. He did.
Yeah, there was some talk about getting rid of. But I think what they're doing is they're going to.
This is a return to standard time. We're on daylight time now, right?
Right. I think that's correct. I don't know. It's confusing enough for me, and because I'm on the other side of the world, and I don't. All right. On the brink of a multipolar world, India's grand strategy is largely defined by China, analysts say. I would agree with this. I think absolutely they are very fixated on China. And, because ultimately Pakistan can cause them problems, but China could bowl them over. So this is from Epoch Times. The story is from Epoch Times. Let's see. India, the world's fastest growing economy, is also growing in its understanding of itself. As it does, its grand strategy, the way it views its place in the world, is largely defined by China, experts say. China looms increasingly large in India's strategic consciousness. Indeed, China's rise is likely the primary factor influencing India's grand strategy today. Vishwa Shastra is a Sanskrit phrase that means treatise on the world. The book offers a consolidated linear analysis of Indian foreign policy from the ancient to modern times. Jani Shankar, who serves as the executive director of the Washington-based Observer Research Foundation, told the Epoch Times in an exclusive interview that there are broadly 5 objectives in India's grand strategy: strengthening India at home, militarily and economically, is the number one priority. Second, ensuring a stable neighborhood, which has been a big challenge, but the neighborhood has always and again been first priority internationally. Maintaining the balance of power is India's third priority. The fourth is to address legacy issues concerning India's partition, which led to the formation of Pakistan and created larger regional consequences. And the fifth is to advocate for India's adequate participation in global rulemaking institutions. Whoa, hold on a second. We got another big one here. Service continues to swing for the fifth. I want a meme for Australia. Give me all your money.
Who should be the person there? I need a good person with arms crossed.
No. It's still Zelenskyy.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
he
Yeah,
wants
yeah.
everybody's
Okay.
money.
Yeah, I can do that.
And
I
we
think
already
I
have
think
friendly relations with India. I don't understand. So
I think we I think you need like Crocodile Dundee and Zelensky meeting up. Maybe he replaces Trump. In the meme. That's funny.
Darth Hideous, India has a very powerful and capable military. So
Well, Joe, I mean it's all right, but they've got some significant issues with their military. They had a wonderful military, but it is literally
Like that?
I'll show you. Give me the money. There you go. But you gotta spell Australia funny. All right. Let me
beat the
continue on
tar
here.
out of China. So
These 5 objectives have largely defined India's grand strategy since its independence in 1947. Today, India has more opportunities and resources to achieve these objectives than it has ever had before. India is less on the defensive than in the past. It has more resources than in the past. That's so good in many respects. It has an ability to modernize, has the ability to settle some issues in its periphery, and it has the ability to bypass and isolate Pakistan and things like that. Yeah, I think that's one thing that basically bypassing and isolating Pakistan is their best bet.
well, a couple of points on India is that their navy is very capable. They believe they own the Indian Ocean, and they're probably not far from wrong, given the fact that they have the most ships in it, and Britain is, for whatever reason, doing whatever it can to cede the Indian Ocean to the rest of the world. Mauritius, of all places. And India is colonizing literally the entire world.
Well, that's I think as much of an effect of having 1.4 billion people in their country as it is anything else. Elbow room. Maybe a little elbow room. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think when was the war with China? Was that in the 80s?
In the 80s, yeah.
Yeah.
At the top of the world, by the way.
Yeah. And they continue to have melees with sticks and
it's been
clubs
demilitarized. You can't use firearms, so they fight with sticks and rocks, and they get legit up there. One of the best videos is guys in modern gear conducting patrols with spiked bow staffs.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you, Joe?
First of all,
betting by your face.
First of all, it's India. They poo in the street, bro.
Yeah, no. Well, yes, good lead into this. But are you aware that this is such a problem that the UN made a campaign with a series of music videos?
Yeah, it's actually mentioned in I think in my first aid book. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, let's be honest. This is not just an India problem. This is a Central Asia problem. I mean, Afghan shit everywhere, man.
It's a literally everywhere outside of Western Europe problem and North America problem.
I mean, I wasn't going to paint with that broad a brush, Joe, but
it's true. Have you ever been to Africa?
I don't disagree with that.
Why do you think they have a dude and he'd be like, "Oh, you're just going to whip your pants down and take a dump right now while we're talking to you. That's cool." All right.
Let's see. India's grand strategy has rarely been explicitly articulated, and various authors have attempted to express the country's vision. The mid-century is also a time frame of China's grand strategy for national rejuvenation, sometimes dubbed Global China 2049 or China 2049. By the way, they got the China's got their big conclave this week, Watcher. We probably need to talk about that on Wednesday. What was it? Two sessions or something like that is what it's called?
Yeah, the plenary
session.
We need to We need to see if we can get Jim in on that one.
Yeah. Kandapali cited India 2020, a 1998 work by India's former president. The book outlined a strategy for developed India, looking for past the first 2 decades of the new millennium. Indian Prime Minister Modi has expressed India's strategy as Viksit Bharat 2047. 2047 is a kind of an odd number to pick out of the hat, but okay. Why not 2052? Give yourself 5 more years, you know. The phrase Viksit Bharat means developed India, conveys India's government vision to transform the country into a self-reliant and prosperous economy by 2047. Kandapali describes the areas defined under Viksit Bharat 2027 as soft areas of grand strategy. Meanwhile, many of India's security-related issues are kept guarded and undisclosed. So that's pretty interesting, Joe. For a democracy, they've got very little transparency when it comes to the inner workings of how, you know, India is planning. Like, you know, for instance, with America, we've got the national defense strategy gets released every 5 years, right? It's a public document that's made. There are secret elements to it, and those are but for the most part, they just further detail things that are already mentioned in the public version. Does it bother you at all that India is this giant country that doesn't really kind of like to share what they're thinking?
No, I don't live in India.
No, I'm saying it's a big country that could then potentially affect us or countries that we do care about, like, say, the Western Hemisphere.
I'm a firm believer that every country gets to make its own decisions. And I've got enough trouble worried about the American government lying to me. I can't also worry about the Indian government lying to me.
This is true. I mean, for me, they do have what is essentially effectively an Indian colony in the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah, the township that I most recently left has become an Indian colony.
That kind of rubs me the wrong way on the Monroe Doctrine kind of thing, right? You know, that's one of my 3 rules that I always go to. The Western Hemisphere is ours, right? Now, obviously, we haven't been applying that in recent years, but I get the feeling that there are some inclinations that Trump and his administration is showing that would show that.
Wait until you hear about Guyana and Suriname.
Well, that's what I was referring to. But you went with like South Dearborn or something like that. Sarah Bisfrost.
Yeah.
Sorry, last one. Can't ignore the street shitters.
That's true. That's true. But it's not only limited to those 2 countries. I mean, Mauritania, Madagascar, just countries all over the world that are almost entirely Indian people who were not, who didn't originate from that part of the world. So, and if you ever go on a cruise, look at who runs all the little shops in the little cruise ports. Hint, it's not people from the Bahamas or whatever island you happen to be on.
I'm just doing a quick search here because I want to know what countries in the world have like majority or large percentage Indian population. So, Joe, I mean, I guess I'm not reporting, like, I'm not coming with this story to kind of show it off because I'm worried about India per se. If anything, I think India is going to be a critical ally to kind of balance against China, here in the next 25 years or so. But it's outside of what Modi is coming and telling Trump when he comes and visits him, and evidently those guys get on like a house on fire. outside of Trump trusting Modi, I just don't have a good grasp on, what this country with a 1.4 billion people in that, that do have, like, so for instance, Mauritius, Guyana, and Trinidad and Tobago these are three countries that have majority Indian population. Trinidad and Tobago, by the way, in the Western Hemisphere. Then you got Fiji, Suriname, UAE, Qatar, Singapore. These are countries with, between anywhere from 10% all the way up to like 38% Indian populations.
Was Guyana not on that list?
No, Guyana is in the about 39.8% of the population is of Indian descent, but some sources suggest it's closer to a majority.
It is a majority. In fact, their government
50%.
is entirely Indian. The president's Indian.
Oh yeah. I think all the money is Indian for sure.
Well, when you said Western Hemisphere, you only mentioned Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, I said Guyana and then Trinidad and Tobago. I knew about Guyana. I did not know about Trinidad and Tobago. They say that 35 to 40% of the population is of Indian ancestry.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is that in these countries that have all these Indians in it, like for instance,
also happens to be in the Western Hemisphere.
But that's 27 to 37% is what it's saying
again,
here.
I doubt those numbers are accurate. Those are old numbers. But yeah.
And anyway, point is that they tend to have like for instance, in Trinidad and Tobago, they're mostly from Uttar Pradesh, right? Like they'll be from a specific spot in India, right? So it's like, because as you know, Joe, India is not like a single, kind of group of people. It is they have 100 different languages spoken within the country of India. You have all kinds of different stripes of ethnic, differences, and probably even subracial differences.
For as much as the left likes to hate on Britain for colonizing India, if Britain hadn't, India probably wouldn't exist today because they'd have killed each other off a long time ago. And that split and that tribal warfare is why you have Pakistan today. It used to be called Muslim India or something like that, or Islamic India, something like that was its original name, and now it's its own country. But look at their overtaking of various industries in the West: the hotel industry, convenience store industry, and most recently, the trucking industry, which has led to its own problems because there are a lot of truck driving schools that are run by Indians also that don't necessarily actually meet the government standards for truck driver training. And it continues to cause more and more problems.
Anyway, so I wanted to bring this up because I think there's a lot of discussion to talk about what India's role is in the world order. India is part of BRICS. They're also very friendly with Donald Trump. They're balancing against China, but allying themselves towards Russia in certain ways. They've been a huge conduit for Russian petroleum products during this last 3 years. So just kind of thinking about India and how it fits into the world, I think is important when you start kind of putting in the context of future conflicts and where things are going to shake out. Both India and China are part of various common multilateral forums, like we said, like BRICS and G20 and things like that. It's assumed that they are not there to discuss bilateral issues or sovereignty issues. Instead, their involvement implies that problems can be resolved through confidence building measures and peaceful strategies. I think Joe, of all the kind of countries that are in rivalries, like active rivalries right now, I would say that India's and China is healthier than most, but not, it's not nothing. There is a potential for a conflict there.
I'm sorry, but there is actual conflict there, not potential
Oh,
for it.
but you know what I'm saying? Like, if they really wanted real conflict, they wouldn't do things like, oh, well, we won't have guns. We'll just beat
Well,
on each other.
this is also why I'm not so worried about India and her secret plans. She has to fight off China. Meanwhile, she also has to fight off the Pakistanis in Kashmir, and meanwhile, they have to fight off the Bangladeshi separatists along that border. They're so busy holding on to what they got, they can't handle anything. Let us
Yeah.
not forget, though, that they are engaged in a very serious war of words with China over Sri Lanka still. So
Yeah.
we don't have
No,
to worry
you're
about India. India's tied up with China. And
Yeah,
I'm
I
sorry we
think
disagree on that. So
I don't I don't actually have a strong position on it. I'm just kind of like bringing the information out and taking devil's advocacy positions on it. Like I'll be honest with you, India has one of the world's largest militaries. It is competently manned. It does draw heavily from the British tradition. They also draw heavily from the Indian warrior traditions, like the Sikhs and things like this. So there's a lot of potential there. The problem with the Indian military is the Indian politicians. I think they're their biggest enemies. If I'm honest, the procurement process has been absolutely atrocious for them. Do you remember that Indian assault rifle they made that basically didn't work?
yeah.
I mean, so they've had some challenges.
Well, but they also just got a great deal on a bunch of AKs from the Russians. So
That's right. The Russians basically said, "Hey, we'll just build you a factory. Don't worry about it."
yeah, we'll be all set.
What are they? Those are AK 100, 103s?
I think they're 103s. And yeah, they have a very strong light infantry tradition because of their mountainous terrain and jungle terrain.
Yeah, the mountain.
So they've got armor, but not a lot. So,
Yeah. Watcher, any thoughts on India before we move on?
It's a messy rise, but if you look demographically, they're the ones who are going to be a threat 10 to 20 years from now.
Yeah.
I think I'd be more worried about it if I was in Canada, where India is waging a shadow war against Khalistani separatists, Sikh separatists.
If you're in
Canada.
Canada, they're a threat right now. But yeah. Then again, if you're in Canada, your own government is the threat right now. And Jesus Christ, like I don't even know what to say there, honestly.
I mean, you're not wrong. Anyway, so I just wanted to kind of bring a little attention to Cerebus again for $10. Dolio is completely correct. There are Indians getting into the trucking industry, and they don't deserve to be there because they can't drive trucks. I mean, I
spent a lot of time crisscrossing the country and a lot of time in truck stops, and it's been an interesting change over the last 5 to 7 years.
Yeah, I'm gonna back this up, but I'm also gonna say it's not just Indians. Truck driving has been so. Here's what we're kind of digging into and finding out. The chain happened like this. They wanted them to be able to have some kind of ID. So they started issuing them various kinds of different driver's licenses and state IDs. Once they got those, they figured out that an easy way to get them employment then, since they have these driver's licenses, is just to shuffle them through corrupt CDL training programs that don't actually train them. They literally, like, they train them the very basics of here's how you shift an 18-wheeler, right? And then that's pretty much it. And they get them out on the road because they view it as the people doing this view it as no skilled labor. It doesn't require anything at all. Might as well, they could drive, right? So this works. Idiots.
Yeah, you see an interesting collection of jingle trucks along I-80 in South Dakota. I'm just saying.
You're like, wait a second, that guy's straight out of Peshawar.
Did I just get teleported back to Peshawar? This is weird. Yeah. Anyway,
is Torkham Pass just around the corner?
Right.
Well, I can't wait. I can't wait till they start doing the jingle truck competitions where they get together and see who's the loudest and who has the best lights. And
Well, let me ask you this: what's worse, the jingle trucks from like Afghanistan and Pakistan and India, or those Japanese like neon light up trucks? Have you seen
I
those?
prefer the
lineup trucks here.
I'd prefer the Japanese ones every time, personally. At least I know the Japanese look. The Japanese was well maintained, right? At least I don't think it's
That's
gonna
true.
fucking fall
That's
apart on the road
true.
in front of me.
Yeah.
This is definitely true. All right, let's jump back into it. Hey, real quick, Joe, let's talk a little bit about Shield Field Days. We've got that on the horizon. What's that look like? If I'm somebody in the chat and I've got some time on my hands this summer, what's going to be going on at Shield Field Days that might draw me to Montana?
So last year we had about 200 guests and maybe 5-6 vendors. We're looking to have probably 30 or 40 vendors, multiple food trucks, speeches and classes all day long by a bunch of different people. I'll be emceeing the event again and doing a lot of good stuff. But our headliner this year is going to be Angry American, friend of the show, great guy, all around good dude to hang out with a fantastic wife. Wink, wink. We love Mel. She's a fantastic woman. We're going to have a good time. It's going to be a whole weekend long of events. So we're going to make it much more family friendly this year. We're going to have a bounce house and a few other kid friendly stuff out here. You'll be able to check out and play with the new, probably not shoot, but at least check out and handle the new Shield SA-15 pistol, and as well as some Shield rifles. Pretty cool stuff. And I know that last time we had Exumbris Designs out here with all kinds of stuff that Scott drooled all over the table because there was a lot of sweet gear out there.
I know, yeah.
And Watcher bought a belt too. There's a lot of good stuff. Our good friends 223 Preparedness will be out there again, and just all kinds of neat stuff. We're going to have outdoor and prepping related classes and gear companies, a couple of outdoor food companies. A lot of good things. We're kind of debating the idea of an archery contest for the kids.
Ooh.
I want to do axe throwing for adults, but Shields' lawyers are like, "Are you out of your mind?" And this might be fun. And actually, I may even tempt a local brewery to run a little tent. So we shall see.
Well,
It's
That'd
going
be
to be
nice.
a really, really cool, fun time. And if you've never been to the far northwest corner of Montana, you really have to. You're actually coming to my house, and out my back door, I've got the Swan Mountains, and out my front door, I've got the Mission Mountains. It's absolutely gorgeous. Both Scott and Watcher have been there, and several folks in the chat have been there. We got camping on site. We've got RV sites. We've got a few rooms available. Those will probably all be full, though. But lots of places to stay in the area.
Joe,
So,
I hate to do this. It's very uncharacteristic of me, but I hate to agree with the lawyers, but I will. That an organized axe throwing competition is probably a bad idea. Now, if you just so happen to leave a stack of axes near a target and a large stack of waivers, that's a different story entirely.
right.
Lance Corporal Veteran for $2 says he's going to be there. I plan on going. My friend is moving to Montana. All right. Here's the thing, though. So I've been there, so I can say this like, oh, it sounds like a great event that I've never been to. It's not that. No, I've been there.
You should go.
The area is amazing. There's more to do than just the kind of hanging out at the camp. But let's be honest.
Yes.
If you go and hang out at the camp, you are going to make some friends. And you're going to meet people that if you're in the chat and you're going to meet 5, 10, 15, 20 people that you've never met before in your entire life. But as soon as you start talking to them, you realize what their name is in the chat. You're going to be like, you're going to be friends for life. So there's probably 15, 20 people that I still correspond with that I met last summer. It's just, it's absolutely worth it. Joe, you got classes probably bookending that weekend as well, right?
Yeah. I'm definitely going to run at least a fieldcraft class before it. or both Fieldcraft and my new mountain survival course I'm going to run as well. So we're going to have a lot of things going on all the way around it. It's going to be a good time. So if you wanted to come out and spend a whole week, there will be training before and after. Trying to get a few other trainers to come out and do some stuff. It's going to be a really, really good time. Everyone's talking about wildfires in March. It's not March. It's going to be in July 25th through the 27th.
It's July
and
August.
Everyone who's freaking out about wildfires, the state forest firefighting department is literally across the street, and we are a base camp location. And I have my own fire truck here anyway, so we're okay.
Lance
there
Corporal
won't be a
Veteran.
forest fire here.
Yes,
we
there's
have
a
a very
webpage.
cool fire truck here. So,
Lance Corporal Veteran, there's a webpage. As we've been saying, it's on it's Shield Field
the
Days.
webpage is now updated. You can check it out at shieldfielddays.com. I'll drop that in both of the chats.
Yes, any of our mods can drop that in the chat. That would be helpful.
You can also, if you're just curious, go to Google and type in Ponderosa Veterans Ranch, or is it camp?
Veterans Camp Ponderosa, and it'll give you an aerial photo of this place.
And
keep in mind,
really
though, that those aerial photos do not list my machine gun positions or outposts.
So. Correct. Those are all conveniently hidden under foliage.
What did Stan call them? Root cellars.
All right. Hey, guys, let's talk about this fucking absolute shit show that happened in the Oval Office. I mean, what do you think? Do we watch the video again? I mean, because we've all seen the video. I'm sure. I would assume we've all seen the video.
I have a proposal. I think everybody's seen it. I have what I think is the best summary of it ever. It's fantastic.
Is this the black chick?
It is. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm good with that.
Okay, cool. So here you go. Let me get you all some audio. Boop. And get this turned up.
I'll wrap up this White House meeting in a nutshell and keep up, okay? Because I'm going to go kind of fast. But what happened? Zelenskyy decided he wanted to invite the media in, and Donald J. Trump and Vance was like, that's fine. We ain't got nothing to hide. We don't know why you want the media in here in our meeting, but okay, that's fine. We don't care. So the media was there, so we saw the whole thing unfold. What really happens behind closed doors when you see them presidents and leaders really negotiating and going back and forth, that's really what be happening behind closed doors. It's not nice. It's not pretty. Okay, I digress. So everyone was there, so they got to witness it. And
yeah, no one can hear the volume.
Trump said, look.
Yeah, can you turn it up?
See what I can do.
We want peace talks, all of that. But what's going to happen, you're going to give us a stake in your minerals because we've sent you a lot of money. We sent you troops.
I'm going to pause it. Give me just a second. I think I have one thing I might be able to do to fix it.
I was surprised. This actually was a fairly cogent explanation using the right amount of like black vernacular to really give it a little, to punch it up.
Fixed it. Okay, here we go.
To a war that you knew you weren't going to win. So in order to kind of even the field, kind of get that back, how about you just give us a stake in your minerals? Well, Zelenskyy started kind of talking with a little air in his chest. I think he had a lot of pride. I think that's what it was. And Vance kind of shut that shit down. Vance started asking him questions like, come on, man, we done did all this for you. He said, you kind of arrogant. You got a lot of air in your chest and you ain't even said thank you. We basically done saved you and you ain't even said thank you. You real arrogant around here. That's basically what Vance was saying. So Zelenskyy kind of decided he wanted to talk even more greasy. Right, so he went to talking, and then at the end,
greasy's probably the best.
And you gonna feel it too. That's when Trump stepped in and was like, "Ho, player! Wait a minute, you ain't even in a position to tell us shit. You can't tell us what we gonna feel because in the card game where we playing cards, you ain't even got no cards. If it weren't for us, you wouldn't be sitting here right now." And Trump said out his mouth, he said, that stupid ass president. He didn't say stupid ass, but he said stupid. He said, that stupid president sent you all of that money and sent you them troops. They kept talking. And Trump was like, let's stop that right now. We just going to stop with you telling us what we going to feel because you ain't in a position to tell us shit. All right, fast forward. They kept talking. They kept going back and forth. Trump said, look, you toying around with World War III here. We trying to give you some peace talks. We trying to get a ceasefire going on around here. And you walking up in here with the air in your chest. Like, what's going on, my guy? He kept talking greasy, and Trump said, look, if it weren't for what we sent
Talking
you,
greasy.
you wouldn't have lasted 2 weeks against Putin. He said, I done talked to Putin. Putin ready for a ceasefire. What's your problem? When he said you wouldn't last 2 weeks against Putin, he gonna double down. Zelensky gonna double down and say, Putin said we wouldn't last 3 days. Donald Trump shot back and said, you wouldn't even lasted that long. At the end of it all, because he had so much air in his chest and so arrogant, Donald Trump said, all right, you can leave, player, but don't call us back until you're ready for a ceasefire or talk some peace or do some negotiating, because this what you're doing. He said, you're not going to last, and you're probably going to start World War III. So get your head right, player, and come back and holler at us.
You know what?
So
I listen to black women.
no comment.
No, I think that's spot on with that. I'm gonna say something unpopular here that'll probably get me a knock on my door by the end of the week. But you remember the beginning of the war when the paratroopers dropped into Kiev and it was looking pretty grim, right?
Yeah.
But over the course of a weekend, those paratroopers got beat back. I will guarantee you that the folks who did that beating back were either SAS or the U.S. Special Activities Division ground branch, or a combination thereof, that probably did the heavy lifting inside Kiev and at the airport. So,
yeah, I think what that was the I don't disagree that there were Western trainers on the ground there, but I think a lot of the work was done by literally it was like the number 1 infantry battalion or whatever in the entire Ukrainian army that had been literally had Western trainers embedded. And so you're probably right. They were probably leading and doing active work on the ground during that. And that's why they were so effective. All right, so let's look at this story here. While globalists sing the same anti-Trump hymn book, TikTok haters side with the U.S. president. This is what I found funny. It's like anybody who sat there and watched it is like, wait a second. Zelenskyy really stepped in it.
That's a frame right there.
Yeah, well, you know, I like the one above it, which is my favorite. You know, this one.
Yeah, this is literally what I pulled the meme out of. Is that exact image?
Yeah, this is our screenshot. Yeah, modernity.
They're both
The
like,
news
stop
says,
talking
look
right
at
now.
Look at the body language in that screenshot. He has no clue what he was in for. Everything came. So anybody who actually watched it, especially, did you guys watch the whole thing? Because I actually watched the whole thing.
Full 50 minutes because most of it's very dumb and normal and like every other meeting Zelensky's ever had, right? Like the first, I want to say 40 minutes, totally normal. I watched like probably 5 minutes leading up to the incident and then everything afterwards.
Well, so even the 5 minutes leading up to the incident was still fairly benign. There was a little back and forth, but it wasn't like acrimonious. Joe?
Well, see, that's the big thing is the media only shows the part after it had already gone south. They don't show all of the time in which they were perfectly cordial with Zelenskyy and things were going well. It's only when Zelenskyy tried to smack certain parts of his anatomy on the desk that it got slapped.
Yeah. Well, so it basically says here, everything was actually very good, I thought, up to about 40 minutes. Trump was very, conciliatory and wanted to help. Hey, we just want peace. We want to do what we can to help, blah, blah, blah. And then Zelenskyy got into a back and forth with J.D. Vance because J.D. Vance answered a question from the media, and it was the answer that he gave was kind of rubbed Zelenskyy the wrong way, and he thought it was his business to actually start speaking up. It says here in the story, everything came to a head at the 40-minute mark when Zelensky started talking down to J.D. Vance, prompting the VP to note the Ukrainian president has not once said thank you for the ongoing support and the opportunity to visit the White House. Trump then took over, getting into the heat exchange because Zelensky essentially threatened. I heard it as a threat. It's like, you're gonna have some difficulties too eventually. Telling he was gambling with World War III. Trump kicked Zelensky out before the scheduled lunch and before the agreement to the of the access minerals in exchange. By the way, guys, this was a done deal. This was all just a little kind of let's make nice for the media. We're all friends here. Then we'll go in. We'll sign the thing. It's all been agreed to. And he had to blow the fucking deal up at the last minute. Trump then told reporters that Zelensky clearly is not ready to accept peace, and he has no cards to play without U.S. support. Let's do the at the bottom of the story. Let's show Trump answering questions about this.
I think that's fantastic, and I do want to do that. But as I'm trying to get down there, can I just say that it really does sometimes feel like Trump and or his advisors literally watch the show, because it's literally what we have been saying since day one of this war, is that there is no war without U.S. support.
It's basically you're supporting somebody with a crack habit.
Mr. President, how long do you think it will take for Zelensky to want peace and be invited back to the White House?
Well, he says he wants it now. He wants to come back right now, but I can't do that.
Are you going to end?
What does Zelensky need to do to restart talks?
I don't have any time for you right now.
He doesn't have to stand there and say about Putin this, Putin that, all negative things. He's got to say, I want to make peace. I don't want to fight a war any longer. His people are dying. He doesn't have the cards, just so you understand it, okay?
If I may, that's one of the things that's been frustrating me the most, is that I've heard so few people point this out. Zelensky, every time he wants to bring this up, he keeps saying that he wants us to kiss and make up with Putin and all this flowery language and shit. No, nobody's asking you to call Putin a good guy. No one's asking you to do literally anything except for stop shooting at each other. You can call him any kind of rat bastard you want from now till the end of time. You can do all the weird political posturing you want to in your own country. Just stop shooting each other.
Let's see. Random P&W Guy 84 for $10 says it was the 47th Mechanized Brigade that counterattacked at the Hostomel Airport. They were trained and equipped by all by the U.S., heavily influenced by the 173rd Airborne trainers. Yep. Yeah,
listen,
I remember.
That is the book answer. That's what it says in the history books. But I'm sure they had some help.
I'm sure Joe is right, is that they actually had help on the ground. They didn't do it just by themselves. Now, that being said, Joe, you freely admit that Ukrainians were involved. It's just that they had a lot of hand-holding going on.
Involved. I'm just saying that the ferocity and precision of the counterstrike has not been matched by the Ukrainians since. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. All right, let me catch up real quick because I got a couple of things that I missed here. Lance Corporal Veteran, we got you. Okay, Laura Cox. I'm sorry, I missed your member chat earlier. Member for 16 months. Thank you, Laura Cox. Very good friend of the show here. Please pray for those in South Carolina and parts of North Carolina dealing with fires. 176 fires currently active throughout the state of South Carolina, currently ongoing. Yeah, I saw some video from those fires. It was fucking nasty looking.
Wow. Hey, by the way, speaking of Laura Cox, Laura knows.
I know that one too. Random PW Guy 84 for $1 says 1,000 T-90As are not just a little bit of armor in India, almost all in the western desert area facing Pakistan. Yeah, because that's been their major.
When you look at the landmass of India, it's not a lot of tanks comparatively.
It's not. Yeah, it's not what you'd call a tank country, generally speaking. Now, Watcher, go down to the next video. This is the one I
will
thought
real quick.
was.
Oh, never mind. You got that. Sorry. I saw that there was a rumble. I didn't realize it's the one that we just did.
Yeah. Go ahead and roll the next video.
Wait, hold on. Which one are we talking about? I see two here, but they're these weird vertical ones.
The one under. So we're back on we're still in that first story.
Yeah, so am I.
Yeah, this is the video right underneath the one you just played. This is the Trump video.
Oh shoot! Okay, it wasn't loading.
Yeah, there you go. Zelenskyy.
I'm not hearing from you, Mr. President, a thought that you owe the president an apology.
No, I respect President and I respect American people. And if, I don't know, if I think that we have to be very open and very honest. And I'm not sure that we did something bad. I think maybe sometimes some things we have to discuss out of media, with all respect to democracy and to a free media. But there are things where we have to understand the position of Ukraine and Ukrainians. And I think that is the most important thing. Yes, we are partners. We are very close partners. We have to be fair. We have to be very free.
So basically he's not interested in apologizing there. Now, Joe, every day that it gets away from that blow up in the Oval Office, I think he's probably wishing he could go and apologize. Zelenskyy, to lose everything through your own stupidity. I love that. Look at the image to the.
That's very funny.
That is very funny. All right.
In watching the event and seeing it happen, the deal was his to burn, and he somehow still burned it. Right? We were willing to give it all to him, and he just kind of blew it by being who he is. Right? He can't help himself. He loves the story, and if he truly did get advised by Obama era advisors to do that, he needs to realize what they just did to him, right?
If you could play the last video on that page, Watcher, the GB, this one.
He's not correct on lots of things, but he's very correct on this. You go to the mayor of Kyiv, Klitschko, the former boxer. He himself was the one who first said that Zelenskyy is no better than Putin. He's basically a dictator. That's what he's saying. And what I find most egregious is the fact that Western media have painted a picture and done perfect PR for Zelenskyy from day one. The guy is the president. Why is he walking around doing TV shows in army fatigues as if he's the army general, as if he's out on the front line? He's not. It's all been perfect PR. Going on Vogue magazine, going around to our parliament and doing speeches where he quotes Churchill. He knows exactly what he's been doing, and the West have played into that. Trump is the only person who's going to end this war.
Yeah, I think that guy was spot on. It's all PR, the whole thing. It's all smoke and mirrors.
And I'll be honest, if I was Zelenskyy and I really wanted to put my thumb in Putin's eye, I'd walk around in a suit and act as though it's every normal in Kiev, because it is, right? Not act like my back's against the wall and I'm about to die. The best way to be in that is to act like nothing has changed. It's silly.
Joe, no surprise here, but if Zelenskyy is going to step away from receiving U.S. military aid, looks like Israel is set to potentially benefit. With U.S. back turned on Ukraine, Rubio expedite delivery of $4 billion in military aid to Israel. So, as for the other country who routinely receives billions in U.S. defense fund and foreign aid, should we expect Netanyahu to receive the same treatment? Will he be told off? No, it's very unlikely, especially considering
because Israel spends plenty of its own money.
Well, right, that's exactly right. But we
Sorry.
do ask them to spend the money that they do spend in American factories a lot of times, and that's I think a fair trade-off. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio unveiled on Saturday that he signed a declaration to expedite delivery of some $4 billion in military assistance to Israel. Rubio said that he used emergency authority to expedite the delivery of military assistance to Israel, which is now in a fragile ceasefire with U.S. designated terrorist organization Hamas in their war in Gaza. Joe, I think that peace agreement between Hamas and Israel is getting ready to run out. They're saying that Israel stopped shipping humanitarian aid, which was one of the conditions of the ceasefire. So I would look for that to break wide open.
And I'm going to be honest with you. I think that it should. I shouldn't be feeding my enemies, especially enemies who pulled off such an attack. October 7th is still an abomination. Regardless of how you feel about Israel or how you feel about Hamas, it was an abomination. If you're a true freedom fighter, then fight the military. Don't attack civilian music festivals and take hostages and rape those hostages. That's inhumane. So I think that I'm certainly not an Israel fan, but in this particular case, their fight against Hamas is legit and it should be made.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm the wrong guy to ask about it.
And
no, I agree with you, Joe.
I
don't have a particular love for Jews or the Israelis or whatever, but I think just from the standpoint of foreign policy, any country that faces what Israel faced would be absolutely within their rights to act the way Israel has acted. And by the way, hold on a second before you do, Watcher. I'll even go so far as to say is that if anybody else got curb stomped the way the Palestinians have gotten curb stomped in the last year or so, nobody else would give a shit about it because it's anybody else except for the Palestinians. The only reason anybody cares is because they've got this bleeding heart idea that the Palestinians are some sacred cow that needs to be taken care of. White knighted for. Go ahead, Watcher. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I just want to say that I will go so far as to say that the current situation is so clear that not only do I feel that Israel is correct in their fight against Hamas and that they should conquer and win, I also feel that other nations and other groups' response to what is happening in this is a perfectly legitimate litmus test for future relationships going forward.
Yeah. No, that's not you're not wrong there. Let's play this. Let's go to the next link, which is this is Mike Waltz. Mike Waltz, right? Responding to the exchange between Trump and Zelensky. I guess he interacted with Trump, not this one. If it's in the show prep notes, it's the long one, the long link. Yep, there you go.
A meeting after that exchange, after the press was asked to leave, and we advised the president, pretty much unanimously advised the president that after that insult in the Oval Office, we just do not see how that could move forward, that any further engagement would only go backwards from this moment on. And that's what we walked over and told President Zelensky and his team. And let me just talk something very quickly, that this was some kind of ambush. Right. That is absolutely and categorically false. Look, we had...
All right. Thoughts on that, guys? I thought it'd some interesting insight.
Seemed pretty clear.
I think it's good to see that his advisors are fairly united on this. Hell, even Lindsey Graham, who is basically the degenerate who is
Lindsey Graham has seen what Doge has been able to do with finding out where all of the USAID funding went. So
Right,
Lindsey Graham is about to start pulling the line as much as possible. I'm
Mhm.
not exaggerating. This is exactly why he's all of a sudden on board.
Well, yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. He's definitely still waving the John McCain flag, but I like how Trump is like the only person in Washington that can basically get him to stab the McCainist ideas in the back. So that's always nice to see on his part. Let's watch the next. So no, go back. There's 3 videos. They're all fairly short. So let's just kind of hit each one in turn, and then we'll move on to the next one.
Hey, hold on though.
Beautiful.
Yeah, go ahead.
J-Sup raised an interesting question. Has anyone checked in on Patrick Fox? Because Patrick is probably having a really bad weekend.
You're probably right about that. Real quick, before we push play here, let me read this super chat. Random POW guy 84 for $10. Can someone explain how the Palestinians in the West Bank got the message and have been quiet since the end of the early 2000s? Yet the same people act like animals in the West Bank. Well, one of the big differences is West Bank is actually under different management than Hamas. Hamas controlled the Gaza Strip and actually ruled it with a fucking iron fist.
Palestinian Authority actually controls
what? Yeah, and those guys are a little less. They look a little less bloody minded when it comes to how they rule.
Yep.
All right, let's watch this next video.
Timothy Tooman says pagers.
Setting
That's
in
good.
the East Room ready for both leaders to sign that would have bound the United States and Ukraine together economically for a generation for critical minerals that we need, economic investment that they need. And that would have been in the heels, Charlie, of having the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom who says he's ready to put boots on the ground, the president of France, Macron, who's ready to put boots on the ground, NATO Secretary General that the president had just spoke to about broader security guarantees. So this really could have been and should have been a positive moment for Ukraine. And then we go to further negotiating with the Russians, bring this war to an end, and move the world forward and stop the death and destruction. We had a beautiful setting in the East Room ready for both leaders to sign that would have bound the United States and Ukraine.
This is a replay now, I think.
Generate.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty. So here's the thing: if there's anything, so I'm not a fan of foreign entanglements, but if we're going to be entangled with other countries, economic entanglements is about as good as it can get. I'm not a big fan of sending our troops anywhere they aren't already, and I'm a big fan of pulling our troops out of almost everywhere they are right now. So I think that this, if you're going to entangle yourself with another country, this is the way to do it. Joe, what's your thoughts?
I can't explain the guy's behavior and why he did what he did. Although I know he can't help himself. So,
are you talking about Patrick Fox or Zelenskyy? Sorry, I'm just going off of your
I'm
last.
so stuck on it, man. I'm so stuck on
that. Look, I can. There's a lot of things. Look, I'll be honest. His behavior is very questionable until you look at some of the potential explanations that have been offered up, which is, hey, certain people who may not necessarily have Ukraine's best interests at heart, but do want to try and create political instances for the White House, may have coached Zelenskyy and told him that he needed to take a hard line. That's one example. Another would be, hey, he was fiddling with his nose a lot. And hey,
he did seem a little
due to people's ability to reason and negotiate and have conversations.
I won't lie, he did seem a little agitated.
Yeah.
Joe, did you notice that on the video? He seemed a little on the kind of tweaky side a little bit.
He looked like a 15-year-old who just got told he can't take the car this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. You're probably right there.
I have a pretty interesting answer to a question that was just asked. Exactly how much fits in a diplomatic attaché case? And I'll leave it there.
You know what's funny is when he showed up in London and Keir gave him a big hug, it was like, it's okay. I heard what that mean man said to you. It was a little bizarre.
Yeah, that was a little bizarre. All right, let's.
Want to watch the last one?
Yeah, let's do the no, not this one. I'm good on him. Let's move on to the Hegseth tweet. This is pretty classic, I thought, Joe. You saw this one?
Was it him clapping back at Hillary?
Yeah.
Yes, it was beautiful.
Yeah, this is about the best response I've seen. Mexican Iron Man for $9.99 says, if we can't make a deal on rare earths, then I'm willing to make a deal on the second best export Ukrainian Chixi proposed use tortilla cords.
I propose.
Chicks. I get you. Tortilla Accords Treaty. Yeah, I mean, I could say that every country is better off with a little bit of Mexican cuisine for sure.
Did we get the last $10 over on Rumble as well?
I don't think
that Mexican Iron Man is that the Ukrainian cam girls tend to be too skinny for your taste.
This is true. They also tend to have flatter asses than what you're.
That's what I was referring to.
Wow. All right.
Oh yes. So this is good. So Pete Hegseth, responding to Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton says wouldn't want to hurt Putin's feelings, and she's commenting on a Gizmodo story, like Gizmodo. Now that is a great place to comment on a story from.
Truly a bastion of journalistic integrity. Yeah.
Right. And it's talking about ordering I think this is the cessation of offensive cyber operations against Russia. Or I think it was the planning of offensive cyber operations against Russia. And then Pete Hegseth claps back to her, showing the picture of her and Lavrov doing the reset button. It didn't even say reset correctly in Russian. It's like they couldn't even get the translation on the button correct. So classic Hillary Clinton here, pot calling the kettle black. Jesus. Joe, I mean,
in that
Hillary
photo,
Clinton,
Lavrov was not laughing with her; he was laughing at her.
Yeah, well, because like I said, they literally misspelled the word on the prop button that they had.
So, was that before or after she sold our uranium to them?
Oh, that was wild. That's why she's so happy in the photo.
That was back in the 90s. This is probably 2012-ish. So, all right. Let's move on, shall we? Segment 2. Okay, so basically, Trump did not it, right, with the Ukrainian war. So whose war is it now? Well, in point of fact, Europe was more than happy to jump on the bandwagon to suck off Zelenskyy in this situation. So I'm going to go through these a little rapidly because I want to keep the effect of the headlines. So I'll just kind of dive into the basics of the story. Europe unveils rival Ukraine peace plan backed by boots on the ground and planes in the air. Hey, boots on the ground, planes in the air. We're going to do it all for you, Ukraine. Trump kicked you to the curb. That's fine. We're your real friends. We're here to pick you up. And so Starmer unveiled a 4-point agreement for his peace plan to keep military aid flowing to Ukraine and to keep increasing the economic pressure on Russia. That in any lasting peace must ensure Ukraine's sovereignty and security. Ukraine must present any peace talks. in the event of a peace deal to boost Ukraine's defensive capabilities and deter any future invasion, to develop a coalition of the willing to defend and deal in Ukraine to guarantee peace afterwards. This absolutely makes my head hurt just reading this shit because none of it's true. So, Keir Starmer, everybody. I don't even want to watch any video with him in it.
So when they keep saying boots on the ground and planes in the air, they're making it sound like they mean right now, but they actually only mean if a peace deal is reached. They're willing to send peacekeepers. They're not willing to actually go in and fight against Russia.
Yeah, so the key thing here is that Starmer basically said that he would propose sending UK troops to provide security guarantees. But Joe, I mean, the troops that they would need to send would essentially tap out half of their military.
Absolutely. They have about 70,000 actual ground combat troops, and you send one division in, half of that's gone. Right, that's it.
In fairness, Joe, they don't even have divisions in the British Army anymore.
Well, I understand. I'm thinking division size strength.
No, I am with you. They used to have those. They don't have them anymore.
I'm sorry. While we were talking about this story, this popped up. Get conscripted to fight in Ukraine. Get ready for a new military abbreviation: BOAD, British Army of the Dnieper. Get conscripted to fight in Ukraine. Officer gives speech about how proud they are he is to be fighting alongside people from any country except Russia. Says, okay, now we're about to team up with Azov for our first mission. Don't Google them. Arrive at frontline. Get drone striked.
All right. So remember that headline. We're going to do it all for you. Now, the next headline. Who will join Europe's coalition of the willing to help Ukraine? So they've declared the coalition of the willing on the last story. Now they're basically saying, now, who wants to join up? Modi, you want to help us?
Point. Who first coined the phrase coalition of the willing?
That was George W. Bush, wasn't it?
George W. Bush talking about who all was going to invade Afghanistan. So. Interesting.
I thought they would back this Desert Shield.
No, that would have been H.W. Bush. This was George W. Bush.
Which, if I'm not mistaken, all of these people were shrieking about at the time. Literally all of them. Am I
wrong? You mean about Afghanistan?
Yeah, Iraq.
Yeah. Yeah, Iraq war. That was the coalition war. That's right. All right. So let me get into this one here. European leaders meet in London to formulate a plan to help end the war in Ukraine. European leaders and that Canadian freeloader. He's there too. But potential peacekeepers face political and economic hurdles. No, you don't say. You don't say. Britain and France have promised to muster a coalition of the willing to secure the peace agreement between Ukraine and Russia. Now comes the acid test for Europe. How many countries will step up, and does that even matter given Russia's rejection of such a coalition as part of any settlement? Prime Minister Keir Starmer of the Britain left those questions unanswered because, of course, he did. It's all show, no go when it comes to these types of promises. Not every nation will feel comfortable to contribute, he said. That President Trump said that Europe was already doing the heavy lifting. Drawing Mr. Trump back into the process is as important as the mission and scope of the European coalition, an analyst says. So it's interesting. The political leaders haven't fessed up to it yet, but ultimately even the European analysts are saying that, yeah, we need America to get involved. But then you got Macron saying shit like this. There will be no European troops on Ukrainian soil in the coming weeks. Okay. I don't know if I believe you, but okay. The question is how we will use this time to try and obtain a accessible truce with negotiations that will take several weeks, and then once peace is signed, a deployment. We want peace, said Macron, and we don't want it at any price without guarantees. There are openly unwilling countries in Europe, notably Hungary, which has in the past tried to hold up additional European aid to Ukraine. Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban thanked Trump for his hostile treatment of Zelenskyy. Yeah, I mean, this is when somebody acts a fool, this is how you got to smack them down.
Can you scroll back up to that photo real quick?
Yeah,
Who
so
put the
this
flags
is
on wrong.
Yeah, so this is the coffin of this is a funeral in Kiev last month of Eason Hurtwick, a 21, a U.S. Marine Corps veteran who was killed while fighting the Ukrainian forces.
Joe, they could have at least put the American flag on his coffin correctly.
So the thing I thought about when I read this, Joe, was that he's a Marine Corps veteran. Okay, how long are Marine Corps enlistments usually?
6 to 8 years.
4 years.
Well. The total is 4 to 6. It's either 4 active, 2 reserve, or whatever. So, yeah.
All right. So how does somebody join the Marine at 18? I mean, theoretically, I guess he could have done it at 17. But join the Marines at 18 and go to the Marines and get out and become a veteran at the age of 21.
He got thrown out.
That's right. He got thrown out of the military. So, I mean, it's not like we're sending our best when it comes to these, Foreign Legion guys that they end up sending. And I appreciate them, putting the American flag, but he didn't die fighting for America. He died fighting for Ukraine, and so at least that Ukrainian flag, on his coffin is appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
So in this story, in the first story, it was, hey, we're ready to do it all. Now, hey, we're ready to do it all, but we really need some help with some of these security guarantees. And then the final one is, this is the best of all here. UK, France, Ukraine agree to work on a ceasefire plan to present to the U.S. So basically what they're admitting is that, okay, we got to get the U.S. involved. So now, and you fucked this up, Zelenskyy. So now we got to put something together that we can grovel back to Donald Trump. And oh, by the way, get ready to kiss his fucking feet, Zelenskyy, because he's going to make you bow and scrape before he even deigns to listen to you. And I think that is the exact right move for Donald Trump. He needs to humble Zelenskyy in front of the world before he gives him a thing. Now, and then once Zelenskyy has abased himself, then he can have his ceasefire.
I tell Zelenskyy to bring his knee pads, but Zelenskyy doesn't need them.
So this is in response to the latest toothless European summit. Poland's prime minister summed up best as following: Tusk reiterates Poland won't send its troop to Ukraine. Tusk then says security guarantees for Ukraine not discussed at all at the summit. Or in other words, once again, nothing significant was agreed upon. Donald Trump posted in his Truth Social account a quote from Gardner analyst Michael McCullough, according to whom Zelenskyy now has no choice but to back down and accept Trump's terms, suggesting that Trump clearly is content with the outcome of Friday's debacle. I'll be honest with you. I think this actually worked out pretty damn good for Trump, because now he's got the option to act and the willpower of his supporters to actually be able to remove the monetary support from Ukraine if he so chooses. And I think that's not a bad idea.
And he's got an opportunity for a big political win here. If he decides to reverse course and say, okay, Zelenskyy, we're going to help you now, he looks magnanimous, right?
Yeah.
There's no loss for Donald Trump in this.
Oh, yeah, he'll be very gracious. He'll seem very gracious. Yeah. Oh, no, don't worry about it, Zelenskyy. We all get a little upset from time to time.
So I would be remiss if I didn't mention the absolute brilliance of our friend Stan on Twitter yesterday when he called Zelenskyy the Nano Führer. And I believe that going forward, that should be what we refer to him as. So,
man, I'm just gonna clean up some super chats here. Let's go prevent him for $2. So remember the last declared coalition movement? I do. And then we've got Pinochet's helicopter tours for $5 over on Rumble. Do you think European countries are using the word peace because they know Americans hate NATO? Let's be honest. Most Americans don't hate NATO. Most Americans have no idea what NATO is.
Yep.
They
may know the name, but they don't know what it is. And let's
they
be
also
honest.
believe that all militaries are equal in NATO, right? They believe that the UK military, the Dutch military, the Netherlands,
they're all doing their part. They assume that everybody's
they're all
doing their part.
pulling their weight, and they're all equal and equivalent to ours.
Let's be very honest, gents. If you ask the average American what NATO is, he's going to ask if you mean green tips.
Well, here's the thing, right? I mean, most Americans are generally supportive of us having alliances and allies and friends and countries that we work with. It's just not something that most people are even kind of consciously aware of. So let me. This is a quote from Michael McCoon. Now Zelenskyy will have no choice but to back down and accept Trump's terms. But here's the genius part: Trump is actually protecting Ukraine without dragging the U.S. into war by negotiating a mineral deal. This is one of the points that I've been trying to get across to people. Trump ensures that Americans will be involved in Ukraine's mining industry. This prevents Russia from launching an invasion because attacking Ukraine would mean endangering American lives, and not even American lives, just an articulatable American interest. Joe, if you remember me back in the early days before the war even started, I kept telling we have no interest. We have no national interest in Ukraine. The only thing
that was before you knew about the biolabs.
Well, but even that is something that we put there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but the mining actually kind of gets our hooks into Ukraine, and we actually have a discernible national interest within the borders of Ukraine at that point. Anyway, by negotiating a mineral deal, Trump ensures that Americans will be involved in Ukraine's mining industry, yada, yada, yada. Would mean a danger. Trump played both sides like a master chess player. In the end, Zelenskyy will have no choice but to concede because without the U.S. support, Ukraine cannot win a prolonged war against Russia. And once U.S. companies have mining operations in Ukraine, Putin will be unable to attack without triggering massive international consequences. Don't underestimate Trump in this game of chess. He's 10 moves ahead of everybody. I actually agree with this. I don't know how much of it was pre-planned, but I think Trump absolutely knew how to take advantage of this, and he's done a bang-up job of doing so. Let's see. Pinochet's helicopter. Okay, I've already done that one. Pinochet's helicopters for $2. If you want to humble Ukraine and Zelenskyy as well as break the EU's nose, audit the money to Ukraine and humiliate them all. Yeah, I'll be honest with you, that's going to happen. I guarantee Doge will eventually do that. And we'll see probably FBI charges filed against people who were siphoning American funds.
I don't think they will, because once the money gets to Ukraine, we lose visibility of it. It's gone.
And without their cooperation, we're not going to be able to audit it.
That's true, but you never know what difference a day could make,
And how many Ukrainian generals or officials have we caught now with bags full of cash trying to leave the country?
Cash.
You know what, though? That's maybe that's the hope, Joe. Maybe they got so comfortable that they were really doing shit just completely in plain sight. It's all in the SWIFT system. We could look it all up. That's best case scenario, right?
I'll challenge that those people only got arrested leaving Ukraine with that money because they didn't give Z his cut.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right there, Joe. It's almost everybody who's been arrested has been because he failed to kick back. Yep. Jay Sup, member for 29 months, says Dale Starman, come on, Britmen, let's fight for Ukraine. Don't worry about your wives and your daughters. We'll keep Ukrainians, migrant rapists in check.
This is a great way to get the able-bodied men out of the way of the caliphate.
Of the rape gangs. Peter Chase helicopter tours again for $2 says, so with a little bit of education, it should be easy to poison the sentiment of Americans towards NATO parasites. They must be punished for what they did. Yeah, if most people understood NATO's role in everything that's happened for essentially the last 30 years, I mean, it's not so much that NATO was doing it, but NATO has been a key kind of actor in the kind of the WEF globalist kind of agenda that's been going on. Let's see. And then this final one I like. Let's go to this next story here. Breaking news, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, 500 million Europeans are asking 300 million Americans to defend them against 140 million Russians. That's actually a pretty good point.
It's a great point.
So this is, he's speaking Polish, so I'm going to have to read the subtitles here. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a paradox and someone has already overlooked it. Just listen to this. And then... So this is Tusk speaking. 500 million Europeans are asking 300 million Americans to defend them against 140 million Russians. I want to repeat these words. If you know how to count on yourself, start relying on yourselves, not in isolation, but with full awareness of your own potential. Europe, if there has been a lack, if something we lack today, it's not economic or demographic power, but it's the belief that we are truly a global force. Yeah, I think that's the end of it. But Joe, the problem is they've squandered that legacy, and
they squandered it because America was always going to be there. Right. The Americans will spend all that money. Look at all these cool bases America has. They'll do it for us. That's why Estonia runs off at the mouth.
Facts.
All right.
You're boring, Scott.
I'm sorry. It's past midnight, so I'm. Hey, real quick, there was a breaking story during the show here. In Mannheim. In Mannheim, Germany, there was another traffic spree murder. I'm trying to find it. Evidently, 2 dead, and
another car went crazy.
That's right. A car went crazy, Joe. That's exactly right. I guess 2 dead, 20 injured, 15 in critical condition. Let's see.
Well, our hearts go out to the driver of that car. They must feel absolutely terrible. And that is literally, by the way, what the mayor of Boston said about some guy who was going on a killing spree that the police killed.
I'm just trying to find another little more info story here. Of course, now that I'm looking for them, though, they were all over the place earlier, but now that I'm looking for them, they're all gone. Let me search for Mannheim or Germany. Here we go. Tragic incident occurred. I don't think it's tragic. I think it is deliberate. When a car drove into a crowd at high speed, resulting in at least 2 fatalities and 25 injuries, with 15 in critical condition. The driver has been apprehended by the police, who have cordoned off the area. Investigators are underway to determine the motive behind the act, with no confirmed links to terrorism established yet. If he was anything other than a Middle Eastern refugee, they would have immediately said he is a man of German descent or a woman of German descent. They will give you every out they can if possible. Bob Johnson for $10 says that's a good point about relying on yourself. One way you can do that is by getting a seed starting kit. I know a guy on X.
So on that note, I have a Bob Johnson seed starting kit along with the bottle of hot sauce he gave me. We've already used the hot sauce, but we are going to start those seeds this spring. So check out Bob Johnson, the real Bob Johnson on X, who is not even a Bob Johnson, let alone the real Bob Johnson. But he does sell seed starter kits. Heirloom seeds, a great combination there, with a very well-written set of instructions on how to actually grow your own food. So, very cool.
Cool. Very
Peter
cool.
Chase helicopter tours for $1 says, Scott, front leaner rush position, move. Should help you with the Mondays. It's not the Mondays, it's the nights. And then he says again for $1, my enemies are in Boston with their backs to the ocean. Yeah. So anyway, we'll do a 48-hour rule on this, so we'll probably be talking some European terrorism stories on Wednesday. Remember, Joe, myself, Watcher, we are all accessible on X. So if you ever feel like you want to give us some story ideas or anything, like, feel free to make sure you pass them along. Joe, looking towards the week, any thoughts?
You know what? I think the left's going to continue their apoplectic stream about how dare Donald Trump speak bad about our Lord and Savior Zelenskyy. And I think you're going to continue to see things like that. There have been a lot of calls for different things. I would be shocked if some Democrat doesn't try to raise articles of impeachment. It won't go anywhere, as they believe that it is un-American and anti-patriotic to not just give Zelenskyy whatever he wants. So I'd watch for more outcry from this.
All right. Watcher?
Yeah, seeing street takeovers in Chicago. And various other places, you're starting to see a lot of leftist agitation. It's going to start small, just laughable small protests that we'll all just chuckle at and roll our eyes at, but it'll roll as soon as they find an inciting incident. It will roll. I think they've made it pretty clear that that's one of their only counters to what's going on with Doge, just to create enough noise going on in other places. That, I mean, let's be very honest here. What are you going to pay attention to? The people nightly burning down cities over some bullshit social justice garbage, or the government corruption being called out by, a fun but ultimately comparatively stodgy billionaire?
Good points. Gentlemen, I have no particular prophecies to call out coming up. I just know that while we may be seeing some good news in a lot of places, like for instance, I unabashedly support this PKK news up in northern Syria. I think things like this are good for everybody involved. Now, here's the thing. If you believe that Erdogan is playing straight with the Kurds in Syria, I got a bridge to sell you. That's the problem, right? The problem is the dirty, back deals that are going on. And I think we're probably going to end up joining up with one of these dirty deals to end up ending the Ukrainian war. So I think we're going to see good, bad, and indifferent deals popping up here in the near future. And almost all of them will probably spawn some sort of other conflict eventually from them. Lance Corporal Veteran for $2 says, look out for violent pro-Ukrainian Kool-Aid drinkers. Here's the irony, Joe. I mean, Joe, these guys are going to be eating shit when Zelenskyy finally has to grovel in front of Trump and apologize to get what he ultimately, because that's exactly what Trump will do. Now, Trump will act very gracious, but he's going to force him to do it on TV.
Yeah, did any of you see the guy who was crying and talking about it? And he's never been more embarrassed in his life. I'm like, bro, I hope she saw the video, dude. Some of these guys are broken. They absolutely cannot believe that Donald Trump would speak that way to Zelensky, and it's crazy. I really hope, by the way, that the aircraft incidents off Mar-a-Lago.
Oh yeah,
because 2 of them had to have flares dropped in front of them by fighters. That's a legit step we don't take very often.
Yeah.
That's not some guy who just wandered into the wrong airspace. So we'll
it's
get
not
any
a
more,
war.
but we'll see.
It's a special military operation. I don't know about that, Joe. All right. Guys, that's all I got for today. Appreciate you for being here. Chat, you guys were awesome. I want to shout out Cerebus again for all those very generous super chats he sent our way early on. I hope your mom, doesn't get upset at her maxed out credit card. But I appreciate it nonetheless. Seriously, it means a lot when you guys give me a $1, $2, $5, $10 super chat. There's a reason why I stop the show when I see a $10 super chat, because I appreciate it.
Today's show was brought to you by Cerberus.
Absolutely, the letter C. So I appreciate not just him, but everybody who's ponied up today. I appreciate you all. Joe, thank you. Watcher, thank you. Guys, if you haven't done already, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. Make sure you're telling your buddies about the good work we're doing here at the Council on Future Conflicts. We will continue. We will endeavor to continue to bring this stuff to you. We will be back on Wednesdays as always. So until then, stay safe.